Hey, what's going on, everybody? Antonio, the Red Enigma 23 here, and it's 24 hours since recording the intro video that I actually just uploaded to YouTube. I'm waiting for the processing on that to actually go through right now. I want to just come through and clarify a couple of things. First and foremost, I actually recorded a reaction video, which I'm also going to be uploading. I might have uploaded that before I've uploaded this one, before I actually did my intro video last night. And of course, through all of that, I was still a little bit out of sorts emotionally, especially with the news. But even going into that, I was in a little bit of a mood and have been quite a bit recently. And it's really interesting because um, I have started seeing a therapist who really encouraged me to start doing this as a creative outlet. Um, because if we're being perfectly honest here, I honestly wanted to get into this a few years ago, and for whatever reason, I didn't make that happen to the best of my ability at all, and I'm not particularly happy or proud of that for any reason. So, I just want to get that across, but that's also neither here nor there. Another thing I do want to clarify also in regards to the untimely passing of Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna. Um, in the video that I recorded yesterday, I actually recorded that before I did my intro video. It was much earlier in the day. In fact, it was right after that news had broke. And I think in that video at the time, I'd have to go and look at it again, but I believe I referred to Gianna as Kobe's oldest daughter. That isn't the case. It's actually Natalia, who's his oldest, 17. Gianna was 13. And regardless, it doesn't make it any less sad, any less unfortunate because, it's one thing to say that at 41, that's far too soon for anyone to be passing away. And it really hits home for me because, anytime that I see anybody that young passing away, it's not really something that I take very lightly. In fact, I probably take it a lot more personally than I do anything else. Um, just going into things that I may or may not have mentioned, my father um, passed away, and we are actually getting to be 11 years removed. It'll be a little bit past Valentine's Day, a few days past Valentine's Day, where we're going to be 11 years removed from his passing. And he was only 46, which that's 5 years older than Kobe. And um, just anytime that you see that happen, it's just anytime that comes along, I'm always going to just take that a little more personally, especially because that's not the only situation that I've dealt with on a personal level to where that's been the case. One of my closest friends actually passed away. I don't think he was even 30 yet at the time. I don't really remember. He might have been past 30. I gotta double check that. Check with a couple of friends on that just so that I could have that clarified. But even that's a prime example of that. I actually worked for a call center company where um, a lady who was my team lead initially to start off when I first started working at that call center, she actually was killed. And I want to say that she probably wasn't even quite in her 30s yet. She might have been, but it was very early 30s at best, much like my friend was. And that was a year after my friend had passed away. And that just having that happen, on such a personal level, it's really not something that I would say a lot of people deal with very well. And in all honesty, that, along with a lot of other things that have accumulated over the years, were just, it wound up being a pretty big cluster that I really didn't deal too well with over time, or at least I didn't find too many ways to address that accordingly. And it really sucks when it boils down to it. Um, and again, just having watched all of the coverage from the incident from yesterday, and just hearing all these different perspectives, it's really been eye opening, to say the very least. And I actually met with my therapist again today. This is my second meeting with him, and it was just, I gotta admit, a lot of the stuff that I went into with him, it was pretty refreshing getting a lot of that out, because, you know, um, I I guess you could say that it's definitely very, very much long overdue. Amongst so many other things, because I again wanted to be doing this a few years ago, and I let a lot of the incorrect things get in the way. And up until now, I just found myself in a situation where I was just allowing myself to be dragged down in a way that, none of us should ever allow that to happen. But at the same time, it can happen to the best of us, from what I've seen. I'm just, I guess, if nothing else, I'm fortunate, because there are quite a few other people that, in situations perhaps even less than what I'm dealing with, they wind up turning to things like alcohol and drugs, or whatever the case may be. And, the coping mechanism, so to speak, isn't what it may need to be in certain situations for some people. And it's really sad, because, you really hate to see people go down a certain road to where it winds up changing so dramatically in a way that, I mean, it's one thing to hit what you would refer to as a downward spiral, but at the same time, just to let it get to a point where, you know, it just gets to where you've dug yourself into a hole, and you're just constantly working to climb yourself up out of it. And excuse me on that, I kind of had to change my position here with the way that I'm sitting right now. But it's like you find yourself trying to climb your way out of it, and it really is troubling when it all boils down to it, because it actually gets to really leading to a lot of people's downfall in a way, excuse me, that it could just take a tragic turn, and you really hate to see that. But in any case, I guess the reason I wanted to put this one out there as well, again, on top of it being clarification, um, I kind of feel like when I did the intro video, I left some things out, and this that I'm revealing right now is one of them. I mean, there's certainly a lot more detail to that, and I don't want to burden anybody with that when they see this. But at the same time, it's just, hopefully it'll give everybody an idea, of what it can be what it really can be like. Because up until maybe a year or so ago, I was at a point where it was about as dark for me as it could get. And, I hate having to admit this, but um, there are just a lot of things that have happened along the way that, again, I just haven't really dealt with correctly, at least to the best of my ability, at least the way that I think I'd be able to. And more than anything else, I just found it necessary to want to just share this. Um, and again, I don't want to go into too much detail about any of this because, you know, um, right now for me, my biggest focus more than anything else is just trying to go up from here, just doing what I can. Because going back to my father's passing and everything, the night that it actually happened, I did an awful lot of thinking in a short span of time. And the conclusion that I came to is, it was something to the effect of, just thinking about what he would want, regardless of whether he came out of what he was going through at the time, which sadly he didn't, of course. But, what would he want for me? And it was painfully obvious, it was just no matter what, just move forward. And especially because of the fact that, you know, um, if nothing else, that last weekend, it was Valentine's weekend of 2009. That last weekend, it was just a lot of things that he had said to me. And of course, one of which was that he told me that he loved me and that he was very proud of me, which, I didn't think much of it at the time, and I was glad to hear that from him, because little did I realize that was going to be one of the very last things I had heard from him, because we were sharing an apartment together out in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And um, it was just it was something that I I'm glad that he was able to get that out for me, because uh it's just one of those things to where I guess you never really know. And you certainly didn't in that I certainly didn't in that situation, and none of us really and truly ever saw this coming, most certainly. And it's just, life is filled with so many uncertainties that you just need to take each and every opportunity to make the most of everything, whether it's, your relationships with loved ones, anything that you may have going on with a job, whatever the case may be. You just want to make the most of it. And I honestly wish I'd have done more with that. In fact, in the process of listening to all of the coverage today, I a lot of the stuff that I heard, it just got me to thinking, like, damn, what have I really been doing all this time? And man, it just it's hard to really put into words right now. But I'm not going to go on too much. I see that this recording is going on 14 minutes now, and I really didn't want to take that much time with it. But um, especially because, as I mentioned before, I'm not really going to be doing a whole lot of editing right away in this initial process. Especially as I learn how to work that with this phone. It's not like it's difficult or anything like that. I just right now I'm just working to just get the ball rolling. And as time gets by, I'm going to get better at that. I'm going to get better with how I present myself in these videos, especially with the content that I create. And having said that, I definitely want to clarify that I am going to focus more on actual content from this point forward. Hopefully that'll be something that I stick to. I mean, there'll be some more of videos like these, but I don't want to have that be the more prominent or even predominant aspect of, what I want to share with all of you, and of course, unlike a lot of other YouTubers, which, before I actually go into that part, I want to actually shout out another YouTuber by the name of Eli Mac. I actually caught a video of his recently where he talked about his father passing away recently, and the way he found about it was about as heartbreaking as it can get. So, just if you don't know who he is, look him up. His name is Eli Mac, and it was just it was pretty crazy hearing what he had to say about that, and it just reminded me how fortunate I was to have had the relationship I did with my father, because I know really well that that hasn't been the case for everybody, and that's really an unfortunate fact of life. But at the same time, I'm grateful even after everything that has happened to this point. And I'm even more grateful to see a lot of the friends that I have that have turned out to be remarkable as fathers. I mean, I can't give them enough credit. I mean, really credit to all the mothers out there as well, because a lot of them have been doing it by themselves, and just doing it against the odds. But even more to that point, shout out to the fathers as well, because it's just amazing how so many of them have how many people have gone without that sort of relationship, and that certainly isn't the way that it's supposed to be at all. And I think it's easy to say that we all deserve to have that, one way or the other, and it doesn't always work out that way, which hopefully that winds up changing for the better. But I really, who am I to say that, especially not having kids of my own. But in any case, I am going to go ahead and end it here, because, again, now we're over 17 minutes now. And I just wanted to get that out there. Just for the fact that, if nothing else, I just wanted to clarify some things. But more than that, I just wanted to offer up a little bit more about myself. And again, this is as advised to be a creative outlet, which finally I'm going to be utilizing that and capitalizing on it as much as possible. Not even so much just for a monetary sake, but if anything, I just look for this to be therapeutic. I mean, if it comes down to, well, I guess I should look at it as more when it comes down to where it becomes a monetary thing, which, obviously you want to shoot for that. But, for me right now, that's not entirely important. I mean, a lot of the content creators that do this normally wind up asking everybody, like, subscribe, comment, so on and so forth, hit the notification button and all that. And all I'm going to say is that as of right now, just in the beginning, I'm not going to ask so much of that, because again, about all this is about getting the ball rolling for me. And that's really the only thing that I care about right now. And as time goes by, the more likes, the more subscriptions, notifications, comments, so on and so forth, the more of that I get, that'll be greatly appreciated. And I look forward to that being the case. But at the same time, that's not really all that important right now. But if nothing else, I just wanted to get this out there. And I hope I haven't rambled too much for any of you guys. So definitely thank you for your time and attention. And hopefully we'll get to catching each other more on better circumstances. Again, we're going to have more of that variety content that I said I was going to be bringing to the table. And with that being the case, I just want to say thank you again. Have a good night, and best wishes.